Hi everyone. So this is actually not my CV, it's my CV of failures, and I'm going to talk about what that means. It's actually more meaningful to me and also more personal, and I actually think you'll find more meaning out of this than actually looking at my real CV, which I will also go over in another video if you're interested. But what is a CV of failures? So a CV of failures is pretty much what a CV is, but the exact opposite. So a CV is supposed to talk about all your accomplishments, your publications, your awards, everything you've done, all the talks you've given. But a CV of failures is actually the exact opposite in the sense that it lists all your failures. But in 2010, in Nature, which is a very prominent science journal, Melanie Stefan published a CV of failures. And the whole reasoning behind this was she said science, all these publications and everything everyone accomplishes, also does the same thing. When you publish something, it's a success, but people don't realize the number of failures it took to get to that success. And oftentimes, recognizing your failures can be more meaningful because it shows you the number of obstacles you have to jump through to get to the success, which we often discredit when we just look at the end product. And I was listening to even famous comedians. Everyone looks at the comedian and thinks, oh my God, they're so amazing. But they don't realize the number of hardships they had to do to get to where they are. And that this can be applied to anyone. So now I'm going to share my personal CV of failures. And this was made at the end of undergrad for me. After graduating in 4 years, I wanted people to realize that even though I did graduate and I did well, there were so many failures I had, and I felt like I needed to write them all down so that way people understood that this was not a straight track for me. It was not easy by any means. And so here it is, without further ado. I broke my CV up into many smaller tidbits, so here's the first one. The CV of failures, my name. The money I made in undergrad was less than $100,000. It's actually negative because I lost that much money in tuition. The next part of my CV is all the labs that I did not get into. And it's cut short for the sake of brevity because I applied to so many labs that I did not get into. So even when you look at my CV, you'll see a publication I have. But that lab that I got into was the effort of getting rejected from 100 other labs. One of the labs that actually still hurts a lot that I didn't get into is the Doudna lab. So Jennifer Doudna is probably the god figure of the CRISPR-Cas9 genome editing thing that was brought up, and that was at UC Berkeley when I was there. And I was so interested in gene editing that I applied to her lab multiple times and never got in, and I was really sad about it. But here are some other labs that I also didn't get into. As I said, it's cut short for the sake of brevity. I applied to at least 50 to 60 labs. Next up, positions I did not get. As you'll see, on a CV, you'll have people list all the positions they have, a president or whatever. They're part of so many different things. But here's everything that I did not get. RILA camp counselor. So that's actually a camp that I was a part of, and I applied to be a camp counselor, and I thought I would get it, never got it. I applied to the Berkeley Free Clinic. I got rejected from there in 2014 twice. And it was just really sad because I applied to so many positions in that free clinic and I never got a single one. I also applied to a bunch of surgical internship programs. And this is so funny looking back, right? I'm a medical student and I got rejected from pre-med programs. So this happens. Everyone gets rejected. You just have to keep on keeping on. I got rejected from being a peer advisor, which is hilarious because I provide so much advising through my videos. And yet in 2014, I got rejected from being an advisor. And also in 2013, I got rejected from the Berkeley Free Clinic again in 2012. And again, the free clinic provides patient care. It's intended to help people become medical professionals. And here I am, a medical student who got rejected from his free clinic multiple times. I got rejected from being a tutor at the Student Learning Center. And this is funny because in 2014, I would eventually get accepted. And then by 2015, I was actually the head of that program in the biology department. So as I said, it all started with an initial rejection letter, which is hilarious. So yeah, to summarize, a lot of positions I got rejected from over 4 years. In the moment, they hurt a lot. But as I said, some of these have really interesting stories because some things that I got rejected from early on, like the Student Learning Center tutor, I ended up becoming a bigger part of, and I applied to again and again, and I didn't let that kind of hold me down. Same with the free clinic. I was never accepted to a free clinic, but I applied in 2012, in 2013, in 2014, and in 2015. Never got in, but hey, I'm going to keep applying. So if that's you out there, just know, keep applying. It's okay. You could get rejected 4 times, 5 times. Hell, I got rejected like 6 times. So, keep at it. All right, next up. These are scholarships and awards I did not get. And so this has an asterisk next to it because this list is actually really short And the reason it's short is because I wasn't even a permanent resident until 2015, which means I couldn't even apply to any scholarships. But even in the 2 years that I could apply, I didn't get anything I applied for. And now here's my favorite part. At the end of my CV, I included a list of the dates and the times when I thought I would not be able to graduate because I just felt so defeated, so down. I didn't think I had it in me to make it through to the next day or even the next midterm, right? I didn't think I would do it. So first, let's start from the top. I really like each of these. So in 2012, in the courtyard, my parents left me for the first time at college, and I was by myself, and I was just like, I can't do this. I hadn't been away from my parents for my whole life, and this was the first time where I had to fight everything on my own, and I just was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. Later that year, there were just so many moments where I was like, damn, dude, I don't deserve to be a college student. I'm just not cut out for this. For example, I went into the shower and I would forget my towel so often that I was just like, damn it, dude, adulting is so hard. Here's a 2012, I took my lab exam in my lab class in my first semester, and I thought I bombed it, and I called my mom, and I was crying in the stairwell, and I was like, damn, it's pre-med for me. I don't think I can do this. Similarly, in 2012, I actually failed my driving test for the second time as an 18-year-old, which is really freaking hilarious because the driving test is not a hard test. It's a written exam. And I failed the written exam once. And after that, I passed it. And then I took the real driving one and I failed that once. And then I failed it twice. And then I finally passed on the third time. So I'm horrible, man. I don't know what to tell you. 2013. I didn't have any groceries and I didn't have any food, so I just ate a jar of Nutella for dinner. And at that point, that was also a low point for me because I was like, dude, is this my life? Like, is this actually me? Do I deserve to be a college student if I'm eating a jar of Nutella for dinner? My roommate still remembers this and gives me a lot of shit for it, but that happened. All right, so now I'm in my second year of college, and this was another moment when I thought I wouldn't be able to make it at Berkeley because my professor in my math class stood in front of the class and said, you all did too well in the midterm, so the final's going to be insanely hard. And when a professor says that to you, that is like, oh, I think your heart skips a beat and kind of just drops because you realize like, this is going to be horrible. And so I got freaked out at that moment, but that was just another moment where I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to drop out at this point. Later that year, I was in a lab. I finally got into a lab despite getting rejected from 60 others. And what happened was I didn't close my samples before putting them in the centrifuge. And there were 6 liters of my sample. And this was like E. coli, massive growth medium. And I didn't close my sample. So what ended up happening was 6 liters of medium. The centrifuge started going and it just like leaked all over the centrifuge. And I was like the dumbass undergrad in the lab that had just gotten 6 liters of bacterial growth medium all over the centrifuge, like bread. So 2013, another moment when I was in my lab, my PI got an award and I congratulated my PI. And she was like, dude, who are you? My PI didn't even know who I was because even though I had emailed her to join the lab, she had forwarded my email to a postdoc and I was just working with a postdoc. So I had yet to even meet my PI despite being in her lab for almost 6 months. And she was like, I don't know who you are. And I was just like, another fail on my end. Always introduce yourself to the PI before you congratulate them, or even when you first join their lab, which in hindsight probably would have been smarter. Okay, so another moment in 2014, I had been in the lab for over a year, so I actually knew my stuff, and I still broke 2 separate 2-liter flasks because I put it into the incubator and I tried to kind of, you have to kind of hinge the flask into the incubator slot, and I put it in too hard and it broke. So I had to retry it, and I did it again, and I broke another one. In 2014, this was my, I'd say, second year of college or third year. I was in biology, and my biology professor showed us this massive chart of all the different families and genuses, and it was huge. It was like the biggest chart I'd ever seen, and he told us, you're going to memorize that. And I was like, dude, I can't do that. I don't physically think I can do that. I'm going to fail this class. And that was another moment when I was like, I don't think I can do it. But hey, I made it through. That was actually one of the hardest things, I remember. All right, so now we're almost getting to the end here. So in 2015, I looked over my notes and I realized I needed to memorize over 1,000 cards. And this was the first time in my life I had more than 3 digits. I was always memorizing 800, 500, 600, but I had over 1,000. It was almost 1,500 because it was all neuroanatomy. And I was like, I can't do that. And now that actually laid the foundation for me being able to do 18,000. I actually do 18,000 cards now. And so as you can see in 2015, I was like, I can't do it. And now I can. So, reflect on that. In 2016, I ran into a pole. And so that was another time in 2016, I presented in front of my lab and I did this like amazing presentation, but my shirt was inside out. So that's another dumbass move. I don't even know what to tell you. And so my last two are actually really funny. I realized that to graduate, I needed to be on a degree list and I wasn't on it. And this was like a week before graduation, or in April, and we graduated May. So I was like, oh my God. And my last one was when I needed to get tickets for graduation, but I never got one. And this was like 2 days before graduation. And I was like, even 2 days before, I'm still failing. So, these were all just some of the moments I had at UC Berkeley when I was like, I'm not going to make it. But I made it, guys. So if I made it, just by having these experiences and running into a pole, I promise you will too, because I think the pre-med journey is not dissimilar between you and me. And so it's important that we reflect on the fact that it's tough and we can all make it through. So the takeaways here are failures are really tough to deal with. I'm in an upbeat mood right now, which is why I can make this video without feeling too crappy about myself. But there are still days when I have a failure and feel really shitty and it kind of ruins my day. And that's okay. We all have them. It's important to take them as a way to get better. And even though in the moment they do suck, I think retrospectively it's important to reflect on them. So I encourage you all to create your own CV of failures so you have something to reflect on as you go, and you can do it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.